My name is Frank D. Hobson. This is my statement to the Pinellas County Board of Commissioners for November 27, 2012. Fluoridating drinking water with recovered pollution is a cost-effective means of disposing of toxic waste. The fluorosilicic acid would otherwise be classified as a hazardous toxic waste on the Superfund Priorities List of toxic substances that pose the most significant risk to human health and the greatest potential liability for manufacturers. Radium waste from filtration systems at phosphate fertilizer facilities are among the most radioactive types of naturally occurring radioactive material. The radium wastes are so concentrated they cannot be disposed of at the one U.S. landfill licensed to accept these wastes, so manufacturers dump the radioactive waste in acidic ponds atop 200-foot high gypsum stacks. The federal government has no rules for its disposal. During the late 1960s, fluorine emissions were damaging crops, killing fish, and causing crippling skeletal fluorosis in livestock. The EPA became concerned and enforced regulations requiring manufacturers to install pollution scrubbers. At that time, the facilities were dumping the concentrated pollution directly into waterways leading into Tampa Bay. In the late 1960s, EPA chemist Irvin Belloc worked out an ideal solution to the monumental pollution problem. Because recovered phosphate fertilizer manufacturing waste contains about 19% fluorine, Belloc concluded that the concentrated scrubber liqueur could be a perfect water fluoridation agent. It was a liquid that was easily soluble in water, unlike sodium fluoride, which is a waste product from aluminum manufacturing. It is also inexpensive. With the help of the EPA, fluorosilicic acid was transformed from a concentrated toxic waste and a liability into a proven cavity fighter. The EPA and the U.S. Public Health Service waived all testing procedures and, with the help of the American Dental Association, encouraged cities to add the radioactive concentrate into America's drinking water as an improved form of fluoride. The product is not fluorine or fluoride as proponents state. It is a pollution concentrate. Fluorine is only one captured pollutant comprising about 19% of the total product. Despite the increased cancer risk from using phosphate waste to fluoridate drinking water, the EPA nor the Centers for Disease Control have never commissioned or required any clinical studies with the pollution concentrate. Specifically, the hexafluorosilicate radical, whose toxicokinetic properties are different to the lone fluoride ion. As a matter of fact, the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act directs the Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, the EPA, the Public Health Service, and the National Toxicology Program to initiate a program of research on fluoride safety. However, after almost 30 years of using fluorosilicic acid and sodium fluorosilicate to fluoridate the drinking water, not one study has been commissioned. The fluoride ion only hypothetically exists as an entity in an ideal solution of purified water, when tap water is far from pure H2O. All clinical research with animal models is done using 99.97% pure sodium fluoride and double distilled or deionized water. Among the thousands of clinical studies about fluoride, not one has been done with the pollution concentrate or typical tap water containing fluorides. The legality of using a federal block grant funds to fund water fluoridation, a practice prohibited by federal law, has never been addressed in the courts. Technically, artificially fluoridating drinking water is a violation of the Safe Drinking Water Act. Under the statutes of the Safe Drinking Water Act, federal agencies are forbidden from endorsing, supporting, requiring, or funding the practice of adding any chemicals to the water supply other than for the purposes of water purification. However, the Public Health Service applies semantics to circumvent federal law in order to promote and fund the practice. Public Health Service states that they only recommend levels of fluorides in the drinking water, and it is the sole decision of a state or community to fluoridate drinking water. Federal agencies are forbidden from directly funding or implementing water fluoridation, but federal block grants are given to states to use as they see fit. Through second and third parties, such as the American Dental Association, state health departments, and state fluoridation coordinators, Public Health Services encourages communities to apply for federal block grant funds to implement fluoridation. Vendors selling the pollution concentrate, like Mosaic Phosphate Mining Company, as a fluoridation agent use a broad disclaimer found on the MSDS or Material Data Safety Sheet that states, no responsibility can be assumed by vendor for any damage or injury resulting from abnormal use, from any failure to adhere to recommended practices, or from any hazards inherent in the product. The next time you turn on the tap and water gushes into a glass, reflect on the following disclaimer from the EPA's 1997 Fluoride Regulatory Fact Sheet. In the United States, there are no federal safety standards which are applicable to additives, including those for use in fluoridating drinking water. This is from an article by George C. Glasser.